So thank you all for joining me today. Excuse me, I know there's lots of cool SQL stuff going on in this time slot, so I do appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to hear a professional development talk on, helping out your career. So, and the stuff we're going to talk about today applies more than just leadership. This applies to growing yourself in really every facet of yourself professionally. So so hopefully you get a lot out of today, and yeah, I hope this is very helpful for you. So a little bit about me before we get started. My name is Mark Runyon. I am a director of consulting with Improving. I have been with them for 6 years now. And before we were Improving, we were Innovative Architects. And I am out of our Atlanta office. We have about 12 offices, I believe, throughout North America. So so growing steadily, and business is good. So in addition to that, I do write. I am a contributing writer with both InformationWeek as well as the Enterprisers Project. I tend to write around things to do with IT management, some work in the cloud, DevOps, AI, basically, whatever's striking my fancy that week or that month. So so I definitely enjoy that when time permits. I do run our national Lunch and Learn series. So every Friday we do basically a improving talk on topics that our consultants are experts in. So some of our upcoming ones are around Power Automate, Kanban, what app devs need to know about data. So it kind of spans the spectrum as far as what we could potentially be presenting. So if you are interested in any of those, please, I've put a link in the deck that you can check those out and register and sign up. They are free, they are virtual. So so let's talk about leadership. What are my credentials to give this talk to you today? So we have this path coaching effort through Improving, where we help our people get to that next stage of their career. And that could be a promotion. That could just be, I want to grow professionally in this direction. I want to become a stronger technical or technician in this area, or I have a fork in my career. I've been an app dev and maybe I want to pursue Power BI. That path coaching effort helps those individuals grow in their career and find fulfillment in their jobs. So very rewarding experience for me as a path coach. And a lot of the ideas that we'll talk about today have come through my experiences with that. Also, I am the technical lead on my client team, a team of 14. So I've been with that current client for 5 years now, and really proud of the work we've done over there with them. So outside of that, my first love was not technology. My first love was psychology. That was my undergraduate degree. So it's kind of cool to see my career come full circle and get to use some of that in my day-to-day, helping lead people and helping grow people. That's, when my career started, I didn't necessarily think I would get to being more of a technology professional. So so that's been very cool to see as well. So the first thing we need to ask when you are kind of pondering, is IT leadership right for me? You need to ask, is this something that you really want? So this quote comes from a client that I worked with, and I was starting to take on more of a leadership role within that account. And seeing this, he pulled me aside one day and said, do you really want this? As the VP of software development there, he said, there are some days I just wish I was out on the floor, head buried in my problems and not dealing with everybody else's. And to his credit, this kind of sums up IT leadership very succinctly. You have to be able to take on the world's problems and not just your own. It's not just about you anymore. It's about the success of the team, and it's less about having the spotlight on you. And for a lot of us that are overachievers and used to kind of pushing the envelope professionally, that can be a hard transition to make, where the spotlight's not necessarily on you anymore. It's on the group. It's on the success of the whole, and how you transition that look can be a challenge for new leaders. So So when we're talking about leadership, you are taking on things like, say you have a missed deliverable. What does that conversation to the partner look like? How are you owning that for your team? Maybe you have conflict within your between two team members. Maybe you have two team members that are like oil and water. They just don't get along. How do you deal with that? How do you keep that conflict from spilling out and affecting the team as a whole? And how do you make sure it doesn't affect the productivity of the team? It could be, a careful balancing act to try to resolve those situations. Maybe you have one of your team members is an all-star. He has been for several years, and then for whatever reason, they're just kind of in a slump. They're not performing. They're not living up to their potential. How do you help motivate them, and how do you help get them back on track and help them, fulfill the greatness that is there, but you're just not seeing right now? These are some of the common everyday things, and by far just the tip of the iceberg that's an IT leader would go through and have to deal with on a day-to-day. So it's different from how you have approached your career up to this point. It's a different skill set. It's a different way of looking at the world. And at the end of the day, you may get to the end of this hour and say, this isn't for me. This is not really what I want to see for my career, and that's okay. This isn't for everybody, and I think it's a valuable look, if nothing else, taking that hour to see, is this a path that I want to explore? Is this a good fit? And so hopefully the takeaway today is either yes, this sounds very intriguing and very something that I would find value in, or no, I really like what I'm doing, and maybe staying right here is what's best for me long term. So where do we start? So this is a long-term goal. We're not walking into our boss or our manager's office on Monday morning saying, hey, I heard this great talk at Data Geek Saturday over the weekend, and I want to run a team. Well, okay, great. They're not going to assign you a team on Tuesday. If they do assign you a team on Tuesday, then I'd be very worried. I'd be the vacuum of leadership within your company is very strong. So that's not a good thing. So this is something we're working towards. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. So our agenda for today, we want to kind of pinpoint 6 essential steps that I see to convince your organization that you are cut out for leadership, as well as discuss some practical ways on how we're going to get there. What are those hurdles we're going to deal with along the way, and how do we overcome them? How do we keep those hurdles, or how do we not make sure these hurdles do not keep us from that end goal? So our first thing we need to do is we always need to be exceeding expectations. So I want you to imagine yourself as a leader of a team, and you have a team member who is late on their assignments. They're cutting corners, they're generally unreliable, and they come to you asking for a promotion. I mean, are you going to give them that promotion? Probably not, because they don't deserve it. There's nothing that you have seen in their past that tells you that they're ready for that next level. They're ready to step up and take on that additional responsibility because they can't handle the responsibility they have right now. So now turn this back around on yourself. If you're not living into the position that you are already in, and being an all-star in every facet of what you do, then why do you think your manager is going to think that you're ready for that next step? So we need to excel in every facet of our current job before we're ready for the next one. So we need to look to grow ourselves. If we're a Power BI expert or a DBA or data engineer, we need to make sure that we're the best that we can be. We're always studying. We're keeping up on the latest technology trends. We are delivering innovative solutions and making sure that whatever that solution is, it's going to make an impact on the business, and it's really going to be felt not only within the IT department but throughout the organization. That is our goal, and that's kind of a key as well. Is we need to broaden our perspective of not just thinking about how we make an impact within our IT department, but also how are we adding value to that organization as a whole? How can things be done better? how can we make an impact outside of just our little area? And that includes, getting to know those other key stakeholders within the organization, talking with them, seeing what their pain points are, and coming up with solutions as to, they may not even be asking for a solution for this said problem, but if you bring something to the table that helps them out, and you can prioritize it within your department and your management structure, then you are really kind of going above and beyond and showing that value and kind of fostering that potential and that promise that's within you. One note here to caution. I always thought as a consultant, my job is to make sure I'm always adding value and making sure that my clients really can't do without me. I want to make sure that I'm extended as long as possible, and our team is growing, and we are a key piece of their puzzle. They really can't do without us. And so in the back of my mind, I always thought that I need to make myself indispensable. And that's not exactly what we want to do. This isn't about an individual effort. This is more about how do we grow those around us as well? Because if you make yourself indispensable, you can wedge yourself into a place that you have a really hard time getting out of. If you are that person that helps the business out with X, Y, Z, and they have blinders on, they can't see that anybody else can help out with that, it's really hard to pull yourself out of that and say take on a different role within the company. So just be a little bit careful of it, say, necessarily wedging yourself in there without building up those around you so that we have a strong team and it's not just about you. So we also need to make our intentions clear. So we're busy exceeding expectations on every front, but at the end of the day, our boss or our manager may think that you're just the best, SQL engineer that ever was, and that you're really happy tuning databases, writing queries, whatever that may be in your world. And if you haven't expressed the intention that this is not the end game for me, this is just my current stop on the way to bigger and greater things, then they may kind of miss the forest for the trees about why you're excelling and why you're so great at what you do. So we do need to sit down and have that conversation with them of, I am trying to get to that next level. I want to lead a team of developers. I want to lead this department. Whatever that end goal is for you, and maybe it is expressing that baby step of just letting them know, okay, I'm trying to get to this next piece. I'm not trying to run the company here. I just want more. I want more responsibility. I want more. I want to be a stakeholder in what we're doing here and helping us succeed as an organization. So by making those intentions clear, you are setting their expectations of what you want for yourself. And hold on. And by working towards that and setting those expectations, then you really help them become an active participant in your success. And that is key. You want to make sure that not only are you working towards this goal, but they're helping you work towards this goal as well, and looking out for you and seeing opportunities that you can plug into, and really making sure that this is a team effort to get you to where you want to go. And you're not just swimming against the tide and hoping you someday get there. And when you're having that conversation, really explore the deficiencies they see in your skill set. Where are the places that you need to step up? Where are the skills that you need to develop to be ready for that next step? And they can really be instrumental in helping you in those places. So use those resources that are at your disposal. So, and I noticed that Ray Kim was talking in the next slot on networking. So it may be a really nice transition to this talk right here. So if networking isn't quite your thing and it's a foreign object to you, which I know it is to many of us, I can personally say that this is probably the weakest piece of my my professional arsenal. It might be a good good thing to check out his session and see how you can strengthen yourself there. So if you are an introvert, you're soft-spoken, you're isolated, this can be really tough. You may have to kind of live outside your comfort zone, but having this skill is pretty essential for a leader. You need to be able to communicate with people. You need to have those necessary skills to lead. And networking as a whole is a positive. Networking, when I speak of networking, a lot of people think about going to outside events held by the Chamber of Commerce or whatever else. That's great. But we're also talking about networking within our organization, getting to know those key stakeholders in other departments. Like I was saying before, how can we help them out? How can we assist them? Getting to know the upper echelon of your leadership within your department. Maybe it's the CTO or the CIO, whoever that decision maker is at the end of the day, that's going to say, okay, I'm taking your manager's recommendation and I agree that this person is ready for their next step. That's going to be a lot easier if you're friendly with them and they know you and they know your ambitions and you kind of included them in your career path to help you out. So these can be critical pieces along your path, just to make sure that you are opening yourself up to these key people and making sure that they're on your side. They're rooting for you. They want to see you succeed. And two, you're expanding your network and your circle of influence. So within my company, I'm continually asking people to help me out with whatever it may be. Hey, we've got a problem with this technology is not cooperating or doing what we think it should. Can you help us out? Can you give us an assist over here? I need a speaker for our next lunch and learn that's going to be happening in a couple weeks. Can you help us out? Can you give us that talk that you gave at that conference, a few weeks back? It's a lot easier for these people to say yes if they like you, if they know you. It's a lot more difficult if you're kind of the guy in the corner that doesn't want to interact with anybody, because you haven't made those relationships, you haven't made those connections. People aren't as willing to kind of step up and help you out, and that is key for a leader, to have people on your side and working towards that goal with you. And at the end of the day, we need to understand. There's a little bit of psychology that goes into this. We need to understand what makes people tick, what motivates them, what drives their actions. Why did they do that thing they did? Why did they react in the way that they did? If we can understand those underlying things or have a better understanding of them, then we can be a much more effective leader. Excuse me. If you do struggle in this area, there's a few books that I could recommend to check out. The Dale Carnegie book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is really good. It's been out forever, so it's a classic in the area. Daniel Pink has a couple good books, one called To Sell is Human, as well as Never Eat Alone. And when we're talking about selling here, we're not talking about selling a product or a service, we're talking about selling yourself. How do you have confidence in yourself to deal with these kind of tricky situations? So these are some resources that can help with that. So next, we need to show initiative. So no one in this life is going to give you anything. We need to take that initiative to help secure those opportunities. And the opportunities are literally everywhere. If you look around yourselves, they're just hiding in plain sight, if you will. So we really need to train ourselves to look for those opportunities. Where can I plug in? Where can I make a difference? Where can I make an impact? So, and you don't have to be the one coming up with those ideas all the time. It could just be talking with your manager and saying, how can I help? What can I take off your plate? How can I make your life easier? And by doing that, you're assisting them in their day-to-day and allowing them to be more effective by doing other critical things to run the business. But you're also taking on these responsibilities that you're going to have at the next level. Assisting with a key presentation or researching that, key initiative that's coming up. These are skills you're going to need to have at that next level. So the one really valuable thing about that is you're learning these skills, and two, you're showing success doing these skills. So at the end of the day, when it comes time to say, are you ready for that next step? Well, you already have a track record of success to lean back on and say, well, I've been doing these responsibilities of that manager, of that team lead, and there really shouldn't be a question mark of, am I ready? Because you've already proven that you're ready through your actions, through stepping up in this way. And the key here is, we discussed it a few slides back, we need to be an all-star in everything that we do in our current job. We can't drop the ball on those responsibilities when we take on our new responsibilities. It doesn't really work. So it's going to take extra time and effort. This is a balancing act, and you're going to have to make sure your current workload does not suffer when you take on these new responsibilities. And if this is something you want, if this is something you want for your career, then we have to make time for it. We have to make it a priority to realize that end goal that we're working towards. You can think of it to yourself as kind of like an organizational MBA. This is invaluable training we're not going to get anywhere else, and we're getting it for free. So we are taking the time and effort to do that training, to fulfill this so that we are ready for that next step. So practicing self-promotion, this may not come easily for everybody, but it is definitely an essential piece of kind of the overall whole. So a quick story here. We became improving about, I think it was about 2.5 years ago. And before, when we were innovative architects, we were a very flat organization. There wasn't much you could do to say move up. Basically, we had senior consultants and we had VPs, and that was the world we all lived in. And once we became improving, there was a lot more places you could plug in, a lot more places that you could find fulfillment within your career. So of course, seeing this, this is everything that I had been waiting for, and I was plugging in left and right all over the place. But I was also getting frustrated because higher level management weren't seeing all the great things that I was doing because I wasn't telling people about those things. They may have seen like a very small subset of the overall whole that I'm, sitting here killing myself doing all this extra stuff, but they're not realizing what that looks like. So that old adage, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? Very true in this perspective. If you're not practicing self-promotion, then the great things you're doing may fall through the cracks and nobody may notice. They may get attributed to somebody else, or they may not connect back to you. So it's really essential to, trumpet your accomplishments. And that may seem unnatural for some people, but think of it not necessarily as I'm the greatest, but think about, we're going to package this up in a way that's, say, more strategic, that we're going to say that here are the things that I'm working towards to help the company out, to help those around me out. And through kind of positioning it in that format, the greatness of the things that you're doing should shine through within those efforts. And that manager, that boss should clearly see the great things that you're doing. So we need to find the vehicle of conversation that works best for you. So I regularly talk to my VP as well as the president. With my VP, we talk every 2 weeks. We have either a face-to-face or a Zoom meeting. We talk about the accomplishments of my people. We talk about concerns of what's going on in my area. We discuss our initiatives, account updates, things of that matter. So we are constantly in sync, and I may reach out just side conversations on a daily basis, but we are completely in sync as to what is going on within my space and how he can help me out and how I can help him out. And then for my president, as you can imagine, he's got 400 million things going on. So getting time on his schedule can be more difficult. That conversation may be a quick stop in the hallway. Let's talk about a couple things here real quick. Let's take 5 minutes and discuss. Or it could just be a nice, concise status report that I send him once a month. Say, here are some of the things that's going on in my world. Can I get your feedback on a few of these? And the key here to these conversations is we're trying to determine, am I still on the right path? Do you feel I'm still pursuing this goal? and in alignment with where you feel I should be? Can I get feedback on some of these things that I'm doing? Because it would be awful if you are putting in all this time and effort working towards this goal, following this path, and you don't realize that the path is actually over there. You need to be going in that direction. So having those checkpoints, having those check-ins can give you that kind of soundboard, that second set of eyes to understand that, yes, I am doing what I need to do to kind of fulfill this goal and get me to that next level. So mentorship is extremely valuable in this space. So much so that I've developed a whole presentation just around mentorship. I include a link in the slide deck to that on YouTube if you want to check it out. But it is definitely a key piece to the leadership equation, both from having a mentor and being a mentee to somebody else. If you haven't been in a leadership position before, this is a great place to help kind of develop those skills and understand what being a leader is like. Because leaders, contrary to what anybody may have told you, people aren't born leaders. This is a skill you have to develop just like anything else. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have pitfalls along the way. That's just part of it. So if being a mentor is kind of a lower risk environment where you can help somebody else out, but it's not the end of the world if you give bad advice or something doesn't lock in the way you thought it was. It is definitely a learning environment. So I definitely recommend finding, say, a junior or mid-level developer and seeing how you can help them achieve their career goals. What does that look like? Maybe it's just becoming stronger in their tech stack. Maybe it's maybe they want to find fulfillment in something within the organization. How can you help facilitate that? How can you help them look out for those opportunities that they might not be aware of, may not fall on their desk naturally? So that can be great as fulfillment. And then finding a mentor can be tricky. Some organizations have mentorship programs within the organization. Talk to your HR department, talk to your senior leadership, and see if that's a possibility for you. If not, then I would look to your network, your professional network. Find people that you admire, that you that have gotten to those places that you're trying to get to. They can be a great one to help you see that the roadblocks that you're going to hit along the way, help give you that critical advice that's going to help you get to where you're trying to go. Again, I can't speak highly enough of the people who have helped me along in my career. They're invaluable, and I don't think I would be where I am today without them. So do lean in on that. Try to be a mentor where you can, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be in a professional context. Maybe it's helping out with, say, a boys and girls club. That could be rewarding in its own merit. But being that presence in somebody else's life, there's a lot to be said for it. So we need to have realistic expectations. So when we talk about leadership, becoming that team lead, department lead, whatever you're vying for, this isn't a checklist. We're not going down and saying, okay, I did that, I did that, I did that. Okay, I'm ready. Where's my promotion? It doesn't really work like that. Usually there's a lot of discretion at that senior level management to say that, yes, we agree, you're ready. You have done everything you need to do, and we're going to elevate you to that next level of responsibility. Usually there is that discretion of, on paper it looks good, but there's something still missing here. You haven't quite gotten there for whatever reason. And the people that I've worked with through our path coaching effort, we're trying to go for getting promotions to the next level. What I normally do is I write out a statement of here are the key areas they're making an impact in. And if I can tell that story, then they're probably ready. They're probably at that point where we can pull the trigger, and I can go to my senior management and say, hey, I'm backing this person. I think they are ready, and here are my reasons that they are knocking it out of the park in all these areas, and we really need to pull the trigger here and promote them up that next level. But if I write that story out and there's holes in it, and there's problem areas, then I know there's still work to be done. There's still things we need to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, let's strengthen this. Let's add this. Let's round you out a little bit better so that I can make that argument, that I can stand behind you and say you, in fact, are ready. And this quote here is from our, heard it back when we first merged, our director of North American operations. He said, you should be working at the next level for 6 months before you're promoted. And I really like this, because if you are already living into all of those attributes of that next level, then there's no risk. Success is guaranteed. For the organization, they've already vetted you. They know you're going to be successful in that new position because you've already been working in it. So so definitely kind of have that in the back of your mind. I need to be taking on these responsibilities. I need to be showing that I am ready for that next level before I really go even ask for it. The key here is you want to be able to make sure there's no argument on the other side of the equation as to why you're not ready, because you are. SMART goals can help us get there. SMART goals are very contained goals. Say you have like a 90-day goal of something that's going to help you get to a longer term goal. If I'm looking at a goal that's 3 years out, it seems daunting. It seems very abstract. How do I become a team lead? I don't know, how am I supposed to figure that out? But if you break it up into smaller SMART goals, then you can start to see success and start to see yourself making that journey to that end destination. So for me, one of my professional goals in 2021 was to become better at public speaking. And my vehicle for that was to, my plan was to do conferences around the Atlanta area, and the pandemic hit. And thus I've ended up on the SQL Saturday, Data Saturday, whatever we're calling this these days, circuits, doing lots of talks like the one you see here today. And I was able to achieve that goal of becoming much more confident, much more comfortable as a public speaker. And as a leader, I will tell you this is a hugely important professional skill to have. So I would put this on your list of things to achieve. But if I was, say this was 3 months ago, and my longer term goal for the year was to become a better public speaker, okay, well, let's speak at Data Geeks Saturday. I know when the deadline is for the call of speakers. It's a very specific goal. Like I say, it's 3 months out. We're going to apply to this conference. We're going to give them 3 topics we potentially could speak on. It is achievable. I can tell you I have a talk picked up with pretty much everything that I apply for. And as long as you give the organizers compelling topics, you're probably going to land one of them. It is very measurable. We know that we are either going to succeed or fail based off whether that talk was actually given. It's very relevant. Speaking at this conference is going to help us in our quest to become better at public speaking. And it is time bound. We have set that bar of it's going to happen in 3 months. So we can easily judge the success of our SMART goal of whether we fulfilled this, whether we gave a good talk. And a good talk can be a good talk for us, based on whether it happened or not. And thus, we have taken one of the steps on our longer journey to become a better public speaker. So you can take this SMART goal format and apply it to anything that's, you're trying to grow yourself as a professional in a professional context. And I really do recommend this kind of quarterly goal type format because it's very easily digestible. We can easily assess the success or failure of that. And sometimes you'll find that maybe we didn't achieve what we were going for. Maybe it wasn't realistic to have this as a 90-day goal. But we can broaden that, and we can bridge that into the next quarter and hopefully find the ultimate success there. So SMART goals can be really helpful in helping us get to those long-term goals. So we've talked a good bit about comfort zone. So our comfort zone, if we think about it, it's like that warm blanket. It's very familiar, it's safe, it's secure. We're very emotionally even. We're not asking a lot of ourselves because this is the place that we've kind of landed and we've become comfortable in. And you know, when we're pursuing a new career option, we're forced to kind of work on the edges and work on the outside of that comfort zones. We have to address the fears that come up when we do operate outside our comfort zone. So if we look from, you know, say a psychological perspective, what's happening to us when we get fearful of, I don't want to give that talk, or you know, whatever that fear may be on your side, our body is triggering that flight or fight response when it encounters that fear. So, you know, our heart's racing, our breathing becomes shallow, our blood starts pumping, and our body's really getting keyed up. So we need to figure out a way to kind of, let's get back in control of this situation. And it could just be breathing exercises to help regulate and kind of bring our body back within our control. Could be visualization exercises beforehand to help understand that whatever this fear is, it's not, there's really no teeth to it. It's not going to overtake us the day of, you know, or in the middle of. Those worst case scenarios probably aren't much to speak of, or we can counter them beforehand through preparation. But this is key. We need to be able to push ourselves, challenge ourselves. Eleanor Roosevelt has two great quotes around this, you know, do one thing every day that scares you. And also, you gain courage, strength, and confidence each time you stop and look fear in the face. You must do that one thing that you think you cannot do. Very wise lady. So through this process, we are encountering change. Change is all around us. Change is part of this equation. Most of us are not comfortable with change. Change is difficult. Change is something we don't necessarily like, but we do need to embrace that change, that we are making new steps to help ourselves out, and we have to be comfortable with that. And we are taking risks. So these are growth experiences. You are going to fail along the way, and I see failure as this acronym says, your first attempt in learning. These new experiences are critical for you to gain, and those failures help your growth process. I've always learned much more from my failures than I ever have from my successes. So embrace those, fail gracefully and recover quickly is my recommendation. Always make sure that you kind of approach it that way, and it's not something that grounds you. It's something you can learn from. So there's always going to be 1,000 reasons why you can't do this. It could be, you know, you've got to be kidding me. I have no time for this. I can tell you from personal experience, I have a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, and time constraints are a perpetual thing with me. It's I live and die by my Outlook calendar. I'm a time management guru of how I portion out my day and make this all work. I am ruthless with my time, and I've had to learn the art of delegation to accomplish all the things that are on my plate. Things like time boxing can really help. Having whatever it is on your side. For me, it's a simple note document that has every day and kind of here's what's going on in the upcoming week that I can easily see. Here's my responsibilities. Here's what's going on. Here are my commitments that I need to live into. Having that utmost ability to organize and time management is critical, I can tell you. The hours are there. You just have to find them. You have to figure out what works best for your schedule. And you know, we're not asking we're doing this, we're not saying, neglecting your family or abandoning that hobby or love, but really we're trying to carve out that time that's essential to help you get to where you're trying to go professionally. So next argument, my brain hurts. This is too much. I don't even know where to start. Well, that's where the conversation with your manager or your mentor can really help. They can help you chart out what that path looks like and what those SMART goals might be to get to that end goal. And once you start having those conversations, you'll be surprised at how quickly that path starts to form and you start to see it clearly. Again, those people are hugely important to lean on to help you get to where you're trying to go. And then lastly, I'm really busy with my underwater basket weaving class. Maybe I'll get to this next quarter. Funny thing about pushing this off to another day is it's not going to happen. We have to make this a priority or we're never going to do it. It's always just going to be on the bottom of our list. It'll happen another day. But the problem with that is if we don't do it, 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and at some point of our career, we look back and be like, I'm not happy with where I am. I wish I'd made a different decision 5 years ago or 10 years ago, and gotten myself on a path which would be fulfilling for me and could help me get where I'm trying to go. You have to sit down with yourself and decide, is this professional goal something that I want to make a priority? Because if I don't, it's probably never going to happen. This slide actually is a new slide since I gave this talk last time. I try every time I give a talk, I try to take the feedback and the questions that come in from the audience and improve the presentation somehow. And these two questions actually came up within the session at SQL Saturday, Los Angeles. And I thought they were pretty interesting and pretty telling, so and added value, so I included them. So what if your organization doesn't let you lead? Maybe there's a lack of opportunity. Maybe you're a woman or a minority, and your organization doesn't see you as leadership material. Unfortunately, these are tough. These aren't easy to solve. So I was in the lack of opportunity in my first job out of college, out of grad school. I was in a very small IT department. There was 8 of us. The VP of IT, the director of software development, and at the time I was a junior dev. That director of software dev, he was a couple of years older than me. I was never going to take his job unless he left, and that wasn't going to happen. So there was no growth for me. There was nowhere for me to go to, and I was with that group for 10 years. And just because I loved working with that group, I learned a lot along the way. But I hit that wall. There's nowhere else for me to go. I'm going to have to leave this company that I really love to get to find my career fulfillment. And I did. And I wouldn't have done it differently, but it's a tough decision to make. It's definitely not an easy one. On the women and minority front, I have to say this was kind of heartbreaking for me to hear. I mean, I'm not naive. I know that women and minorities have to work harder for their opportunities to get to the place that I sometimes take for granted as a white male. I know it's more challenging. I know it's tougher. Consciously or unconsciously, we all have a vision in our head of what a leader looks like, what personality traits they have. What their skin color looks like or what their gender is, and that's unfortunate. This is fed through years of biases that we kind of come to these places. So what I will say is an organization that's not elevating those individuals is really an organization that is not living up to its potential. It's not promoting the merits of its people, and thus you have to question, is this an organization that you want to be in? That if this organization does not value you, then maybe it's time to find a different organization. So on both of these fronts, this can be a dead end. It really can. the opportunities may not be there, and you may have to decide, I need to go someplace that is going to value my talents. And again, that's a tough decision to make. It really is, because sometimes, like I said with my first job, I love that group of people. I keep in contact with them today. I didn't want to leave, but I knew that if I had looked back and I hadn't have left, I would have always regretted it. So wrapping things up, we kind of come full circle. Is leadership right for you? So I can say in my journey, leadership has been a very rewarding journey. I can trace the success of some of our organizational efforts through my actions, and that's pretty cool. I really like seeing the things that I do make an impact. Helping out my team members find fulfillment in their work. If any of my team feels like they're punching a clock every day, then I've failed. I have failed them. I haven't helped them find that fulfillment in their day-to-day. I am on this leadership trajectory, and it's definitely not finished. I still have longer to go. And I really wouldn't have done it any other way. This has been a great fit for me. And, hopefully you will find the same. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves a few questions if this is right for us. We have to say, are we willing to put in the additional work to learn this new skill set? So just because we're kind of stepping back from the technology a little bit doesn't mean we're stopping learning. We are mapping out this new path. We're learning these new skills. Learning is a constant, whether you're in leadership or you're, just man on the ground implementing the technology. Do you enjoy helping others? Do you enjoy seeing them improve and succeed? That's critical. Are you willing to take a step back from the technology and take a step up in the organization? That's not a constant. Say you want to be a team lead. In that case, you definitely wouldn't be stepping away from the technology. You would actually be the go-to person for whatever technology issue, decision, architecture thing that needs to happen within your group. So, but if you say you are taking a step up into, say, a VP level or a director or something like that, then you are stepping back from the technology a little bit. Are you okay with that? I mean, this is what you've built your career on for many, many years. That's a big decision to make. Am I willing to take that step back so I can take a step forward in where I'm trying to go? And then finally, are you willing and able to take a step outside of your comfort zone to acquire the skills that are effective for this role? And notice that one word, effective. And that's the one challenge I make to everybody that decides to take this path. The world is filled with bad managers and crappy bosses. We all know that. We've all experienced that firsthand. If you decide to take this course, then make a goal for yourself to be a great leader. Strive for that. Look to make an impact wherever you can, and be the change that you wish to be in the organization. Be that person that people look to lead. I mean, that's kind of the core of this. So slide deck, I will post it up to my Twitter. I think the Data Geeks has a place I can load it up. So as long as I can get that to you from there, I will definitely make it accessible. So 4 links I've included. How to get your first job in IT leadership is an article I wrote that actually came out of this presentation, kind of summarizing some of these thoughts for the Enterprise Project about a year ago. The countless benefits of mentoring presentation we discussed a little bit earlier on can help you kind of figure out how to get traction in that space. How do you make that actionable? How do you make that something that's kind of a key part of your professional set? The link on SMART goals kind of looks at that a little bit more in depth. How do you use SMART goals? How do you make that happen? What does that look like? And then finally, benefits of stepping outside of your comfort zone. That was an article I ran across in Psychology Today that I thought was a really nice summary on that topic. So definitely check that out as well. So that wraps me up. So thank you all again for joining. I hope this was valuable. I hope you got something out of this. I am here for you. I'd love to speak with you about any challenges you may be facing, any questions that you may have, whether it be tomorrow or a month from now or a year down the line. Please reach out to my Twitter, my LinkedIn, or my email, all printed here, and I'm happy to discuss and happy to figure any of this out for you. This is a critical piece of your career growth, and I hope I can help you in any way I can. So with that said, if anybody has any questions now, I'm happy to discuss.